Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Savor Food and Body Podcast. This is a short, quick, savory bite, and it's coming off the heels of I did four free Q&A sessions, holiday support sessions in the last couple of days, and we had some really great conversations and some great insights and tips that came out of those conversations that I thought it would be beneficial for you all as you go into your holiday meals this week, your Thanksgiving meals if you're here in the US. So, the first tip that I have for you, and I've mentioned this many times before, but it's worth noting again, is satisfaction. Lead with satisfaction. So, if you're stressed out about I'm going to be eating too much, or there's too much food, or I don't like this and that, or even the diet talk and the comments that are going on around the table around you, focusing on your satisfaction, focusing on what foods, what dishes on the table, on the family buffet, however it's set up, which ones are the most satisfying to you. So, thinking about the taste, flavors, textures, all of that. If you hate turkey, don't plate yourself some turkey. And one of the folks that I was talking to in our Q&As mentioned about building a satisfying fork, and that was a strategy that she came up that she's going to try this week, and I thought this was really brilliant. So, we talked about plating up the foods that she really enjoys and not worrying about the foods that you think you should be having, like the salad or the soup or anything like that, thinking like, oh, I should fill up on these first and eat less of, the higher calorie, higher fat, higher sugar, whatever foods. Don't do that. Instead, think about, well, what are the dishes that you really like? Which ones do you find really satisfying? And put those on your plate first. And then take your bite of food. And in this gal's case, it was a piece of turkey, a little bit of stuffing, and some cranberry sauce, all on the same fork. And that's what she found to be really satisfying. That's what she was looking forward to in having this Thanksgiving meal later this week. And I thought that was a brilliant idea. One, because there's a lot of flavors and textures going on there in all of those foods. And what we were talking about is she was really concerned about, well, I'm afraid I'm going to eat too much. And if I eat too much, then that's going to trigger my dieting mind. And um, I will then go into dieting habits. So restricting my food later, or um, could even snowball into further disordered eating behaviors, binging, purging, and kind of snowballing, therefore, going forward. So, um, I thought that was a really interesting way for her to kind of connect. Well, if I choose my satisfying foods first, I build that satisfying fork, then I am not going to fill up on stuff that I don't necessarily want, and then maybe put myself into a place of being too full and then triggering some of those unhealthy, disordered eating or dieting habits. And I want to invite you to do the same, because it's so common when we get into that place of uncomfortable fullness. So I'll talk about fullness here in a second. But when we're talking about uncomfortable fullness, that's when we can get into this place of we're bargaining. We're bargaining, saying, like, oh, I feel this way. I feel so uncomfortable. I'm so full. Like, I might even snowball into, like, I'm so bad. Why did I do that? I have no control. I have no self control. Then we move into bargaining, going, okay, tomorrow I'm going to walk X more miles, or I'm going to run X more miles, or this many more minutes at the gym, or I'm not going to eat breakfast, or I'm only going to have salad tomorrow. So, to avoid that and avoid getting to that uncomfortable place of fullness, if we start the meal with focusing on the foods that are most satisfying for us, we're more likely to end up with satisfaction and fullness happening at the same time. So sometimes we can feel physically full in our body. We know that there's food in our stomach, but we're not necessarily satisfied. This happens all the time if we're choosing more diet or what we think we should be eating foods. And then we're still jonesing for the flavors and the textures that we really wanted. So then we can end up with being physically full, but we're not satisfied. And then we're rummaging around the kitchen, the pantry, whatever, in hours, minutes later, still trying to satisfy that taste that you didn't get. For a lot of my clients and the women I talk to, this could be that sweet something topping off, but they were trying to avoid the sweet. And so now they're feeling overfull because they ate all this other food, when if they would have just eaten what they really wanted, then they would be more in a comfortable place of fullness. So, the other piece, the other tip that I want to offer with all of this and what makes all of this really work is full permission. So, if you give yourself full permission to eat the foods that you really find satisfying and not worrying about, is this the healthy way to be eating my Thanksgiving meal? Then you're more likely to plate up that satisfying food, enjoy that satisfied food in that moment, and move on with the rest of your day. Having full permission also gives you the opportunity to ask for a to go bag if you want. If you reach that point of comfortable fullness and you're satisfied, but maybe you still want some of the other foods that were on the table, you just don't have room for them right now, great. Ask for a to go box to take home and eat later. And you can eat later whenever that the mood strikes you. You don't have to say, like, oh, I need to wait this number of hours, or I should wait till tomorrow, or whatever. So, full permission is really important here because it allows you that space to make your plate the most satisfying and build your fork in that most satisfying way. So, I hope that's helpful. I hope that that helps you reduce the stress around, oh, if I'm going to eat too much this week, and instead help you focus on, like, what's the most satisfying part of the holiday foods. If there's foods that you hate that are on the table, like I hear this about turkey all the time, then don't put that on your plate. If you want to be trying some new things, some new dishes, and you don't want to have your same old stuff like salad all the time, if you're someone who has to have a salad all the time, then don't have a salad with your holiday meal. So I hope that's helpful. And again, you can always leave comments below. You can also head over to the alpinenutrition.org website /contact, or hit the contact link up at the top of the page and leave a comment, review, ask questions, get in contact with me there. I hope you have a wonderful holiday meal this week, and I'll talk to you again soon. Take care.